Hey everybody, it's Emran Pilati coming all the way from California. I'm the Vice President of Realty World Northern California, Northern Nevada. I'm in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, and I'm here with Eric Andrews, the broker owner of Realty World Carolina Properties, of course, here in Carolina. I'm excited. Thank you for having me. We're here at your office, and I'm working through scratchy voice. Eric's going to talk for most of this, so that way I can make it through this. But I'm sitting here at his office, here at your office, in the #1 office in all of Chatham County. Tell us a little bit about your office, total agents, and kind of the volume that you guys do.
There's 10 of us in the office, and we do have the #1 market share. It was close last year between us and another office, but we're starting off 2015 in our first place position still. There is more and more competition coming from the surrounding areas. We don't have a big metropolitan area ourselves. We're more of a rural county, and we're surrounded by Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Cary, Apex, and those agents see what we have, and they're starting to encroach on our territory right now. But we're standing firm in our market share.
Now, Pittsburgh itself, about 3,700 people.
Correct.
Chatham County, 60,000 people, which makes your numbers, your personal numbers and the company's numbers even more impressive. We'll get to that in just a minute, but tell me about when you joined real estate. It was about 15 years ago. What did you do prior to that, though?
I was a teacher at the local high school here, and I coached football. That helped me become pretty well known in the area. I still have people walk by and call me Coach Andrews. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's been really nice being in it as long as I have been now that I have my former students buying and selling real estate
That's
now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And with that said, how were you introduced to the real estate side of things?
I was married to a woman at the time that was a real estate attorney, and she asked me to get into it to supplement our income, and soon it became a huge part of our family income. And one of the things I love about real estate, and it's also a challenge in real estate, is that you have to balance that. The more you work, the more you're going to make.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to figure out when to cut that off.
Yeah, when is enough?
Exactly.
And I think that we'll talk a little bit about that with your balance with your family, which is a big deal to you. Now, you were saying that, was it your first deal when you made $17,000?
Yeah. My first deal was a house and a farm with an additional lot next to it, and that transaction was almost the same amount I had made in teaching the whole year before.
In your yearly salary.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And you said, what am I doing? This is kind of where I need to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I think a lot of teachers go into it for the right reasons, or whatever. I just felt as though I was young and just starting out, and I felt as though I had a responsibility to my family to make as much and save as much as I could. And I definitely think teaching is a noble profession, but real estate really gives you the opportunity to make quite a bit of money if you work hard at it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you said something that was really interesting. Most of us, when we start real estate, I know I was this way. We start by working at a brokerage. Mm-hmm. You started owning your brokerage.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, I started out just owning my own business, where it was just me by myself. And that was just for a few months. And then I came across two guys that had just signed on to the Realty World franchise, but they didn't have a broker in charge. Okay. And they said, hey, you've been a broker in charge before. Would you like to be our broker in charge? I said, well, I've been a broker in charge for like 3 months. and just
in charge of me.
Right, supervising myself. And they said, yeah, that's still more experience than we have.
Wow.
And so...
how old were you at the time?
I was 30. The other partner was 40, and the other partner was 50. So we all brought a different viewpoint, different aspect. I learned so much from them. They're great guys, whatever. But they since have gone to do other things, whatever. But I still consider them very good friends.
How long ago did you become the sole owner of the business?
That was probably about 5 years into it, about 10 years ago.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for the majority of your ownership here at Carolina Properties, you've been running the show for 2/3 of the time by yourself.
I have taken on other partners, minority interest partners, and they're very helpful to me as well. So I am not currently the broker in charge. I have another minority interest partner that is the broker in charge, which is a great way to divide the duties.
And that helps you because this past year, 2014, you were one of the top producers. You did 9.7 million in volume, and that is an impressive number. But I think what's more impressive is that 51 transactions came from it, and the majority, if not all of them, came from land sales. Mm-hmm. Now, what is it about land sales that's just so different than residential, other than the fact that there's nothing on there?
Right.
But
well, I mean, it has its own challenges for sure. Whatever. I mean, one of the things I like about land is, in general, I get to charge more for that, and so I charge higher fees for my expertise in the land game. So that helps.
So I'm going to brag for you because you're a humble guy. We've talked about this, but in this area, you're known as the guy to go to for land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we're trying to expand upon that. So we're doing counties that surround this area as well. But, yeah, 10 years ago, I went to a motivational speaker seminar, and he said, look, there's this new thing, Twitter. I don't care what you do, but you got to go home and get a Twitter account. Just sign up for it. I don't care if you do anything with it. And so I ended up getting Land Guy for my Twitter account, which has been very, very. I mean, so I have a bunch of followers and a bunch, and so I try to tweet on a weekly basis, whatever. But
That's
just
great.
having that handle, I've actually been offered money just for.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
You were one of the first ones to take it.
Right.
So you talked about part of the success with your land had to do with this designation.
Yeah, it's the ALC designation. It's one of the most difficult designations to get. You have to do $5 million in just raw land sales in a 5-year period.
So tell me what it stands for. ALC?
It's an Accredited Land Consultant.
Okay, got it.
And it's a National Association of Realtors designation. You have to take 6 different courses. I got to travel all across the country. I took classes in Memphis, Des Moines, Tampa Bay, Denver, and you just meet like-minded individuals like yourself. I mean, people that only want to do land. They don't want to do residential. They don't want to do commercial. They're land specialists, and it's a unique group.
Did you become an ALC because of the area and its demand, or is this something that you wanted to focus on? Or
no, when I first got into real estate, I decided that I wanted to sell $400,000 to $500,000 houses. I thought that would be the great way to go. And this is at a time when we first started the company, our average home sale was $89,000.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I just want to deal with $400,000 and $500,000 houses, and that's going to be my area of specialization. Well, people didn't want to hire me for $400,000 and $500,000 houses, and we didn't have a whole lot of those around here. Right. But one of the things I did find out is that nobody wanted to do land. I mean, people really didn't like getting out, getting dirty, bugs and prickers and everything else. And so it was a niche that I fell into because nobody else wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I found that people would pay a premium for that, and I've been lucky to make a very good living off of it.
It's turned into your niche, and now you're the specialist.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So when we look at this, you based your business. When did you primarily go land?
It was probably about 12, 13 years ago. I got my ALC designation about 9 or 10 years ago.
And with that said, the majority of your business now comes from referral.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very fortunate that, I have other agents in this town that give me referrals.
Even though they're here.
Even though they're my competition, what I take pride in is that they are such good people and good agents that they realize they want to do the best for their clients. And so we either co-list, or I pay them a referral, or, it's just word of mouth. But
because they know that you're a land specialist and that's all you primarily work on.
Correct.
If that client has to sell a residential property, is it pretty well known that you're not going to encroach on that? You're going to let that referring agent.
Yeah, it has to be a close personal friend of me and I will either give it to another agent myself. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, do you do any active marketing or prospecting for land?
Yeah.
Tell me what you do.
Well, one of the things that we do a very aggressive job of hitting expireds.
Really?
So.
Because a lot of people don't know what to do.
Right.
So
Right. And so when I have these expireds, we send out a letter that says, look, it's not your fault. This is how it was marketed before. This is how we could do differently. And then I also send them all the successes that we had last year. So I could say, look, we sold 45 pieces of land last year, and we really believe that we could market yours in a different and more effective way.
Just like you would with any kind of single-family residence expired, you're reaching out to them.
Yeah, yep. So we have that. We also have just real lucky that people see a bunch of our signs out, and so they know that we're land specialists, and so that makes the phone ring. And just we're very involved in the community, and like I said, I'm known as the land guy. It's just a niche that we've fallen into.
So you're either the land guy or your coach, but
exactly.
You're called one of the two.
Either one. I'm happy to be.
So here's the interesting part, and we'll talk about your brokerage in a second. Off camera, I asked Eric. I said, "How do you feel about your business? Are you planning on building it?" And, independent of the brokerage side, just with your personal business, you told me you're good.
I'm at a good place right now. That. Well, as far as
because everybody's so excited to build their business,
right,
and you're saying I'm good with maintaining.
Well, I get my bills paid, and I'm real lucky that I get to. My kids right now are 13 and 11.
Yeah,
they're very involved in sports. Not only am I able to see them play in every game, I often watch them practice. Just because we're lucky in this business that we make our own schedule. We're flexible. I mean, I still put in a good solid 60, 65 hours a week.
Sure.
But I'm allowed to make time for my kids, which is real important to me. So.
And you said you didn't miss any of the games this year.
I did not miss a single one of my son's baseball games or a single one of my daughter's basketball games, which I'm proud of.
That's so important.
It is. It is for me.
Yeah, the balance. Because so many. I mean, how do you put in 65 hours of work a week yet still have the time for your family?
And I'm real lucky too that it's not like when we have a house and I have to call the seller and tell them to clean up, make the beds.
You're right.
Get ready for the showing, bake cookies, light the candles, turn the fans on. I don't, it's land. So often I don't even know when land is being shown. Now, if it's me showing it, I can do that.
Right.
But, it's also, there's so much preparation for land. It's not like someone calls me and says, Eric, I want to look at this piece of land tomorrow. We have to really prepare for that. So I usually wait like a week before I'm able to schedule walking a piece, because it takes half the day. It takes 3 to 5 hours to walk a big piece of land with a client.
And that's, I think, something that some of the residential agents that want to take a listing of land,
they have no idea what they're getting into. Right. And one of the cruelest things I do to people around here is someone will come in and say, Eric, I want to buy 50 acres. And I say, okay. And we go out and we walk a piece of land, and we're in a full sweat, and it's taken 2 or 3 hours, and they're like, I love this. This is exactly what I want. And I was like, okay, but that's 10 acres. They have no idea how big 10 acres is. But to fully walk and investigate a piece of property takes a considerable amount of time. And there's a lot of background research that we do before we even go out.
So just to make sure that people understand regarding land, what's the use for? Crops, for building, for?
I've had a wild career. I mean, just like in the last year, I did 2 alpaca farms. I did a hops farm. I did a pecan farm. This lady's not even going to literally receive the fruits of her labor for 18 to 20 years. But she started a pecan farm this year, planted all the trees, irrigated it. I did a blueberry farm, a pumpkin farm. I just have a lot of people that want to do, their own sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
So it's been real fun.
That's great. So tell me about how you balance as. I know you're not the broker in charge, but you're a majority owner, right? So you still have a lot of responsibilities to your agents, and you're lucky because you have top agents here in this office. I just did an interview with Lisa, and she's one of your top agents as well. How do you keep the balance of making sure that you're able to sell land on a high level, spend time with your family, and still be there for your agents? Well, what's the secret?
Well, one of the things that I I have a lot of professionals that I use. I have staff. I have assistants. So it's not just me doing this. So I have a full-time licensed broker that just helps me.
Yeah.
I have a professional photographer. I have an office administrator, a transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
I have somebody that does just graphics. So I have a lot of staff that supports me. When it comes to actual legal technical questions, the broker in charge helps out the agents. If it's just a question about experience or strategy, they come to me. And so we have a good balance in that regard. I think the agents here know that I'm always accessible, but I'm not always immediately accessible. And so we have a good respect for our time there. What I was going to tell you before, one of the neatest things that I did last year, and some people think this is crazy, but about March of last year, I turned off the recording of my voicemail. So you can't call and leave me a message.
So it'll just ring.
No, it leaves a spoken message, but it tells you that you cannot record a message. And it says the reason why I haven't answered the phone is because I'm either with a client on the other line or I'm with my family. Okay, so there's a reason why I haven't answered the phone. And it says if it's during business hours, you can call my office and someone's going to help you.
Yeah.
If it's not during business hours, call me back during business hours, or you can text me or email me and I'll get back to you.
Okay, so tell me how this experiment went.
Well,
is it still going right now?
I still don't have it on.
Okay. You got to tell me. So do your clients get mad at you or what?
Very, very rarely. And let me tell you the reason why I did it. I was at one of my son's baseball games, and the phone absolutely rang off the hook during the whole game. And so, we wanted to have a lunch and an ice cream afterwards. And so I said, well, I have to swing by the office and listen to my messages. And so I came here and I turned on the voicemail, and there was something like 13 messages on there. And I sat there and wrote down everything that people were asking and all their phone numbers, and it took me 45 minutes. That was 45 minutes away from my son, 45 minutes away from my family. And it wasn't all... I mean, there are no emergencies in real estate. There are no land emergencies, I mean, that dirt's been there for a long time, and it's going to be there for a long time. So I think getting my clients to know that I'm going to work as hard as I can for them, and there is a big trust factor, but I am not immediately available to them, and they're okay with that. So if it's someone...
But the expectation's given early, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you tell them during the process when you're deciding to take the listing in the first place, you say, just a heads up.
Yes. You'll always be able to get in touch with someone. You might not always be able to get in touch with me, but my clients also know that when I'm with them, I don't answer the phone. I'm not one of those agents that's on the phone all the time. I don't pick up the phone. I don't speak. When I'm with a client, my attention is totally to them.
So when we're walking a property and I'm your client,
you won't hear me answer the phone one time.
Because the expectation's set, you feel at ease, you're fully present when you're present.
I have a staff back in the office that is ready to answer anything, and if they can't, then I can do it at a later time.
Did you hear that? Turn off your voicemail. Never have a recording.
It's different. I don't know if everybody can do it. Whatever,
what made you do that? I mean, where did the idea come from?
I just had it. The 45 minutes that I couldn't spend with my son because I was listening to, and you have to get the number right. You have to listen to it 2 or 3 times. We're in a rural area, so sometimes the cell phone clicks off. It was just a level of frustration that I couldn't. And the funny thing is, I have a good friend of mine that's an attorney.
Yeah.
He's done it. I have a good friend of mine that's a CPA now. He's done it. I had a developer who was just absolutely shocked. He's like, "You're the only real estate agent I know that have done this," and he's now done it.
And I think what's interesting about this is that when you set up the expectation at the beginning, they wouldn't work with you moving forward from that day if they weren't okay with you doing that.
Right, absolutely.
And it's so opposite. Everything that we were doing is so opposite. So like, instead of saying I'll list everything in my county, you're saying I just want land.
Right.
And instead of saying I'll answer the phone at any time because I'm a realtor and I just got to run to the phone, you're saying I'll answer it when I'm available. If it's during business hours and you want to get a hold of somebody on my team, they're available. But when I'm with my clients, I'm with my clients.
I realize that I'm fortunate to be in this position. I don't know if that's the way to start out. I do think you have to do everything. But yeah, it's worked for me now.
Yeah. So here we are in 2015. Mm-hmm. Let's look at the 2000 Eric, that version of you. Mm-hmm. The 2015 Eric is looking at the 2000 Eric. Mm-hmm. What's the pieces of advice to help you? Let's just say somebody was new. Mm-hmm. What would you tell those people to do in order to get to your success level?
Well, one of the things we went over is certainly find a niche. Find a niche, become as professional as you can in that niche, become an expert in that niche, and people will naturally come and flock to you. For me, it was something my granddaddy used to always say, do something that nobody else wants to do. And I was fortunate that I was in an area at the time back in 2000, really nobody wanted to touch land. Yeah. So I was able to get a foothold. More people want to do it now, but
probably has a lot to do with your success.
Well, yeah,
watching you do it.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough that I have. It's such a catch-22 for a new agent. Yeah. Nobody wants to hire anybody without any experience. How do you get experience? And so I'm lucky now that I have some experience.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, I'm under contract with 5 solar utility companies, where they're going to make a solar farm and sell the power back to the utility company. Yeah. Well, when I did my first one, that was a huge learning curve, but you do the second, third, fourth, and fifth, and you're like, okay, he's the solar farm guy now. It's just it's hard to get that foothold, but once you have it, I think you can take advantage.
And now, what is your focus on for 2015 for you personally? And then I'll ask you for your brokerage.
For me personally, I would like to work more efficiently.
So 65 is a lot of hours to put in.
Right.
Do you mean scaling back your hours?
Absolutely. Okay. I'd love to be able to scale back my hours. I'd love to. I don't want to make less money, but right. But I would like to make the same amount of money more efficiently.
What are you planning on doing to step that up and make that happen?
Well, probably go outside of the market that I'm in, big fish in a little pond, and help people in the surrounding areas, Wake County, Orange County, Alamance, Lee County, and really focus on some of those larger tracts. So we were fortunate enough that last year we got to do some large tracts. Yeah. Large tracts are hard to push through, but when they close, they're really, really nice paydays. Sure. I was fortunate enough to do a big deal, 3 acres right in front of the RDU airport, and it takes a long time for something like that to go through. You have to get it rezoned. You have to go through some planning meetings or whatever, but that's what really gets me up in the morning and gets me ticking, is I like big challenges. So my son plays baseball, right, and his coaches are always telling him, hey, singles win the game. I don't like
swinging for the fence.
I don't like singles. I like home runs. Yeah. I'm not like that. I can't do singles. I like home runs. Singles pay the bills in the meantime, and I have a lot of good clients that are singles. But the home runs are real fun.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the biggest challenge.
Right. And so using that expertise to go outside of our comfort area where it's just Chatham County, I'd like to do some bigger tracts in the surrounding area.
Tell me about the brokerage for Carolina properties.
We certainly want to expand the brokerage. Okay. I'm one of those people where if I'm doing well and the office isn't doing well, I'm okay. Yeah. If the office is doing well and I'm not doing well, I'm okay. But if I'm not doing well and the office isn't doing well, it's a strain.
Painful.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful. I don't like writing checks to work here. And so the more people that we have here and the more people that we can help pay the expenses and invest more in marketing and advertising, the stronger the office is. Yeah. And so right now, we have a good little office with some very, very productive people, but if we had just a few more, there's so much more that we could do. Marketing-wise, we could do more training-wise, and we could do more to help the community, too.
There you have it. Eric Andrews has been a great resource for the community. Any parting words? Maybe a little bit of a word of advice for those that are out there just trying to get their foothold in the business?
I don't really have any words of advice other than, this is a unique occupation where the harder you work, the more money you make, but you just have to find a balance.
Yeah.
And really like to add to that, we're excited about the direction that Realty World's going into right now. I'm very excited about how this company is embracing technology.
It's important. It's important for the new generation of buyers, whether it's land or residential property or commercial property.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the internet. They're using technology, so it's important.
Right.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, you guys, and stay tuned for more top producers to hit your internet soon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Good.